So here we are. Welcome to Daily Work Remote Strategies. We have these amazing coaches here. I'm going to give you a little information about each of them. And today is all about the questions that you have and situations that our coaches may have faced with similar situations. So it's all about bringing your questions to the fore. We already have 3 questions in queue, so we're going to be rolling right out of the gate. Let me tell you 1 or 2 things about each of these people. So we are all Silicon Valley Change coaches. Silicon Valley Change, or My Coach by SVC. First here in the corner, in my view, is David Paulet. David's a longtime friend and an amazing coach, and people love him. It's going to be really, really short introductions for these coaches. So that's David, and he's sitting in Florida right now. Next person that I see across my screen is Sandy Lewis. Sandy is in North Carolina, and she has coached so many people that we actually say at companies, you are in really good company in terms of people that Sandy knows at your company and the experiences that she knows at your company. Eileen Schaefer is a walking person. So if you have any questions about your physical well-being, she's an executive coach that handles things like executive presence and things about conflict. But she really, if you want health kind of things, make sure to direct your questions to Eileen. And she's sitting in California, in San Diego, right?
San Diego, yep.
Beautiful. And Giselle Timmerman is a coach who, most of these coaches I've known for a bazillion years. They're amazing. Giselle is in Barcelona. So if you especially have an international or a work culture question, then Giselle might be your person. So here we are. We're delighted to be here. And let's just get right in with the first question. All right, so the first question seems to me, I'm going to read it off like it might be a little tongue-in-cheek, but it might be extremely serious. So here we go. The first question is, a lot of people are complaining about social distancing. Is it bad that I enjoy it? Let's go first to Sandy.
No, I don't think it's bad at all. I've talked to a number of people that particularly are introverted and actually really like the space and not having other people's noise around them. So no, I think it's fine.
I'll jump right on there too. I was a conversation with a client yesterday, same idea, not only the social distancing, but even working from home and being more isolated for some is terrible. And because of the missing of the camaraderie in the office and the collegiality and sharing, but for some it's just so great to just have your own room to yourself the whole day working, and it does seem to correlate to the introversion extroversion, and at least in the case of the executive that I'm speaking of. So Sandy, very similar experience.
So what I'm hearing from the first 2 of you is this is normal.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Absolutely normal. And I would just piggyback on that and say, get clear on what you're enjoying the most, right? And maybe ask yourself, what has surprised you about what you've enjoyed about this time? And then of course, when things return to normal, how do you hold on to those things that you're enjoying most?
That's great.
And I would add just one further thing is just thinking of it as physical distancing, but we're still connecting socially. And so even though you might be really appreciating being home, my guess is you're probably still connecting with those people, or hopefully still connecting with those people who fill you up and fill your bucket. So social distance does not equate to social disconnection. Physical distance doesn't equate to connection. So make sure that you're still connecting, even if you're loving the physical distance.
That's a quotable quote there. That's great.
Yeah. I stumbled on it, however, I'll refine it.
By the time it's published, Eileen, all of the Ers and Rs get taken out.
Exactly. Good.
Oh, well said.
All right, you all coaches, you seem like you're on a roll, so I'm going to hit you straight with the next question, which I'm also going to read out. By the way, if you have additional things, we're all impromptu doing this, just jump on in afterwards. But I'm going to go straight to the second one. Here we go. Okay, so I can relate to this question. I wake up in the morning either with, hey, I got this, or, oh my gosh, I'm so far behind in at least these 3 things. How should I handle this? Whomever would like to go first.
I'll go first just because I actually have a quote about this on my desktop. Oh. It's actually an Indian proverb that goes, and I'm reading it. Every time you wake up and ask yourself, what good things am I going to do today? Remember that. And when the sun goes down at sunset, it will take part of your life with it. right? And so if it's a great day and you're ready to go, or even if it's a day where you're juggling a lot, there's one part that will take your life with it when there's a sunset. And I think that that really helps you to go through your day purposefully, even if you've kind of gotten off to the wrong start.
That's great. Wow.
Are you typing that into the chat for us, Senya, so we capture it?
No, I think Gigi has to say it again. Giselle, can you say it again, please?
Sure. It goes, every time you wake up and ask yourself, what good things am I going to do today? Remember that when the sun goes down at sunset, it will take part of your life with it.
That's terrific.
If I can add one thing too to that, that's a little bit forward thinking. I love that. What good am I going to do today? And I wake up that way too. I don't wake up Susie Sunshine every day. There's times I wake up and I just want to get back into the covers. So the practice I like to do is just stop and bring gratitude right into the moment. And I can be grateful for my pillow, the fact that I have hair. It doesn't matter. It's just whatever that is. And I spend a few moments with gratitude, and that's that tiny little shift that can help me. And that's a practice I've been really working on for years, because like anybody else, and all my clients too, we've got really on days and we've got off days. And so how do we start our day at least a little bit and shift a little bit?
And I would add on to that. I love the gratitude piece. I would also add on the self-compassion piece too.
Yeah.
And I think we are in an experience that none of us have ever, thank goodness, experienced before. And so that cyclical nature, and I'm finding it a lot with my clients where one day they are on fire. The next day they're like, oh my gosh, getting out of bed is exhausting. And just those waves. And actually Sandy did a great talk on the wave, ride the wave. And those waves are real. And so having that self-compassion when you're going through it. And then the other thing too is taking note of, on those days when you do feel really on fire, what contributed to that? What was right that allowed you to feel that way? So that might also give you some clues when you're feeling a little bit lower.
That's awesome. I'll add to it. The only thing that I can't do with being grateful is I'm grateful for my hair. As we referenced earlier, I guess I'm grateful for what I have left. But yeah, the gratitude, I think it's so powerful just to mention the idea of literally stepping away from your bed and going to an open window, look outside, fix your eyes on something that's bigger than you, something that is maybe even beyond explanation. You're not sure if it's nature, how it works, or something that's man-made, but you think, boy, how do they do that? That it sort of puts in perspective. There's a lot going on in the world, and it's just not me. And then from that perspective of sort of awe of what beauty is around me, is then the gratitude of, the exercise that I suggest and I often practice myself is just to list out in my mind all the people I'm grateful for. Mm-hmm. And just that rundown of, starting with my wife and my children and so forth, that can be very helpful. And even being grateful for colleagues at work and people that, are really mean a lot to you can make a big difference. And the last thing I'll just say quickly is being other focused as well, is if in fact you're not feeling so great yourself, is just to say, how am I going to make a contribution today? That's like a Tom Rath quote. How is it that I'm going to help others today? And all of a sudden we start getting that feedback from other people that they of appreciation, and that often will turn us around.
That's a great point. Yeah.
So
I love that.
Is this an accurate way of summarizing what you all have said? So again, in the question, it was, hey, I got this, or, oh my gosh, I'm behind in at least 3 things. I think what I'm hearing all of you say is, yes, even if you wake up with that, oh my gosh, you can start to make small tweaks throughout the day, that the whole day doesn't have to be that.
Right, yes.
Yeah, either way. And there's an acceptance too that you're pointing to, Senya, that I was hearing with all of us, accepting it's a kick-ass day and I'm working it, or it's a day that I just need to be on the couch or in the garden or wherever I live. Just accepting it.
And I might add in, just because of the walking, on those days where you feel like my brain is not operating the way I want, perfect time to go for a walk. I feel like a broken record sometimes, but since it's the first time I'm saying it here, walking, it boosts your productivity, it boosts problem solving ability, it boosts creativity, it lowers stress, all things that will help you when you're feeling like blah. And so oftentimes when we feel blah, we want to sit on the couch, and that makes the blah feel even more blah versus getting off the couch and going, don't quote me on the blah being more blah, but getting off the couch and going for a walk. And again, it goes back to what David was talking about, just this sense of awe, what Sandy was talking about in gratitude. All of that happens on a walk. And these are powerful things to create positive emotion. You'd be shocked when you get back to the office, how much more on, or office, I love our home office, how much more on you might be.
Yeah,
A clarification on the walking part. So for example, Giselle is in Barcelona. They cannot walk most hours of the day. They can't walk outside. What should those people who we're speaking to who are sitting in Europe or places where you actually can't, what's your
move around the apartment, move around the house, move around your facility, get up off of what you're doing. And the movement is huge. Being outside is an added bonus, but movement in and of itself, fantastic. I have clients who are in apartments that cannot get out, and just that movement in their space and just a different view in a different room can also stimulate some kind of new energy.
I'll share that 6 weeks in, I surprised myself by putting on headphones and dancing around the apartment. Never in my life have I done anything like that. But there was energy that needed to go somewhere, and that worked.
You did your own silent disco. You know those events where headphones on and Gigi did her own.
I did. I jumped on my kid's trampoline. I was wacky. I did not care. And that's not me at all. But it
How'd
really
you feel
helped.
after?
It really helped to shift my mood.
Yeah, that's terrific.
Just wear shoes, because I tore my Achilles tendon.
Oh,
Not tore, just bruised. So you got to wear shoes when you're dancing around for a while.
okay.
That's so cool.
Let that be the takeaway to all of our listeners today. Wear shoes.
Wear shoes.
Yeah, wherever you go, whatever you do, get your shoes.
You know, actually, I was speaking with someone in our field in HR, and she was saying the one distinction she's making as she's staying at home is she is putting on shoes in the morning when she's going to her computer to start work, and she's taking them off when she's being with her family at the end. I thought that was a really nice external.
That is nice.
Anything else to add to this topic of how to, if I wake up either woohoo or blech, in Eileen's words, to quote Eileen, anything else to add to this comments on this topic?
I'll just add one that one of the things that if you really are a jumble, and I've been there many times where I'm a jumble of so many different things going on, and what goes in the good category and what goes in the challenging category, is to actually just sit down with a cup of coffee, turn on some good music, maybe Gigi's music, and then sit down, just throw a line down the middle of the paper, and on the left side say, what are all the things that I'm concerned about or are on my mind, and that I'll need to address, and what are all the good things? And back to the gratitude. What are the good things that are going and are clear to me? And then inside of that exercise is just the immersion, or rather the emergence of the areas that you might want to focus on. And it will often say, you'll look and you'll often say, wow, actually things are in pretty good shape. Other times it will say, that exercise will say, well, boy, here's something that if I focus in on this from either column, it may make a big difference. So that's another option.
Awesome, thank you.
And if you try all these strategies, I'll just say, reach out, call a friend.
Yeah.
Pick up the phone, even if that feels unfamiliar, right? Don't just send a text, really just reach out and call someone. A 5-minute conversation can completely change your perspective, particularly if it's a conversation where you're reaching out to offer someone some help.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay,
Nice.
you guys ready for what is probably our last question?
Yeah.
Okay, so we are all executive coaches, and you probably have had someone in the past 2-3 weeks who has said something like this to you. We have gotten this as comments regularly in these 20-minute webinars, so I'll read it again. people need me too much. There are too many Zoom meetings. There's too little break between the meetings. I am just overwhelmed, and I want to do a great job. I want to be great in my home, but it's just, I feel that people are needing me too much. What should I do? Whoever wants to go first.
Yeah, I can start with that a little bit. There's a lot with that. First of all, boundaries comes up, right? We all talk about boundaries. What does a boundary look like? Where is my edge and your beginning? So thinking about what boundaries are, and then what is enough, really. I think, I'm an A personality, type A, and I want to do something for everybody, but I've got to step back and say, what is really important here? What is enough? Can I ask somebody else to do it? Because so many things are just infringing and impinging on our space that now we need to really be clear about that. So boundaries and what's enough would be my 2 points.
Boundaries and what's enough. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, I remember the Zooming. I remember, Senya, it was probably my second webinar, the first one with you even. I said, I woke up feeling over Zoomed. And it's like, and I keep seeing more articles, it's a real thing. So now I don't feel so alone in being over Zoomed. And so not these kind of Zooms, but we have Zooms coming at us socially, personally, as well as professionally, all the one-on-one meetings, the group meetings, the happy hours. So it is a lot, and you're being pulled. The one thing, I love what Sandy said, and then as you're thinking about your boundaries, also thinking about what's important to me and how do I want to show up? What's ideal to me? And really think about through your own lens of, okay, I'm feeling this from everybody else, but what do I have control over, and how do I want to show up in this capacity? And get very clear, because that helps you with boundaries too, is once you know what I want to be giving and contributing, and how often, or do I want to delegate? What do I want to do? But first, get very clear on how do I want to present myself? What's important to me before you start to think about the external. It's more of an internal job first. And I think I'm hooked on this. I had 2 clients yesterday with this exact topic, and we really talked about checking in with yourself first of what's important, and then starting to create the boundaries, if that makes sense.
So when you're triggered, check with what's important to you about the situation, or your values, or what is specifically being pushed against. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, and how do I want to show up? I mean, I think we oftentimes forget, and we get just pulled, and then we're a wet noodle at the end of the night, as opposed to really getting clear on, what are my values? What are my priorities? How do I want to show up? And that kind of starts to create your boundaries. I call it a filter of what do I want to filter in, and what's going to get, kind of a strainer, what gets stopped in the strainer, and what do I allow into me?
Yeah. Let me add one thing before we go on. It is the 22-minute mark, so I want to let you know, if you were here for the 20 minutes, feel free to take off. We know that we've transitioned into the Q&A section naturally, so we're going to be here until 30 after the hour. And please start letting us know in the comments, what are you taking away? What are you taking away as something you'll do? Really, that's the biggest thing I want to know. What is one action you're going to take based on either something you've heard today or a thought you had yourself? So what is an action you're going to take? And we're going to keep going with this question till the half hour. Please keep going.
I'll just go ahead, David.
No, después de Barcelona.
Gracias. Entonces, this issue with boundaries, I hear from so many people, it's because we've got these blurry life domains that we're juggling all at home. And so as we think about maximizing performance in our kind of all of these domains, I think it's helpful to consider the roles that you play in each of your life domains, even when they're obvious, right? We've got work, family, community, self, even more of those. And if you've got the time to just kind of think about what are the strengths of each domain and the resources that are helping you to do your best in each of those. And then to think creatively, right? How might I leverage resources across domains in order to do better? Or how much of my time and energy is devoted to one of each domain? And if your involvement is skewed, you might want to think about how you can improve the balance. So there's 2 things there. Identify the domains, and if you can leverage resources between domains. And then the second one, in terms of your energy, where is it coming from and how can you rebalance?
That's great. I'm taking notes for myself.
I know.
I'll add to to the conversation here, and that one of the things that when we're getting pulled by so many people, professionally or personally, is how do I make sure, you know, the old expression, but how do I make sure to get my own oxygen before the day starts? So what are those things that reliably help me get started in the day? And I tend to be a list guy in terms of if I know that there are 8 things that if I do, pretty much it turns out that's going to help me get off on the right foot. You know, for me, it starts with hugging and kissing my family members. You know, my daughters and my wife is a great way to get the day started. But basically identifying all the things that help get you in the right mood for starting off your day. So you start off with your tank, you know, full, or as much as possible before you get in your first interaction. And then just like, you know, when you're on a road trip, you've got to stop at the, you know, they have the rest stops for a purpose. And the same thing is to, you know, be able to book in your day time to set aside for yourself and put it on your calendar, make yourself, you know, unavailable, you know, for certain periods of the day where you get to focus on what's important to you. And before you start, you know, working on everybody else's priorities. And the same thing with like email. Before you start checking email, is get something done first on your agenda that's important. Can also give you a feeling of centeredness before, you know, the Zoom calls come in and so forth. So those are a couple ideas.
So some preventative in advance of the Zoom calls, and some to get your own balance even in the middle of a day like that. That's super busy. Yeah.
Yes. Well said.
Okay, I'm going to ask a surprise question that I didn't expect to ask. What is each one of us, including me, what is each one of us taking away from today's mini webinar as an action that we'll take or something that we're going to try to do?
Well, I'll just say real quick, this, having a coach, it sounds, I have a coach and I just benefit by listening to everybody's perspective, and you just, rather than thinking that you get to a place where you know everything and you just have to implement it and you say, well, I know that, I'll do it. Just having somebody in your life that can help you be your best self, give you new ideas and so forth. And so today, it's like we had, you know, 5 coaches, you know, that I've benefited by listening to all your answers to the questions. So I'm going to call my coach.
I'm going to take away, I love what Giselle said about kind of looking at what's working from each domain. I think I can talk about savoring. I call that savoring, right? And I can, I don't do it myself enough though, savoring where I am and what I'm doing and just being in the moment with it. So thank you very much for that.
That's great.
And I'll thank my coach friend David. You know, you mentioned kind of the power of rituals, and to just get really solid on those kind of 3 rituals to start the day. I need some consistency there.
Yep, and I'm going to actually piggyback on that with David's. Again, it's one of those things that you know intuitively, but you forget to do is don't start the morning checking emails, which I always talk to other people about. And it's like, do something for yourself that moves your thing forward. And I love that reminder. So thank you.
Oh yeah, you bet.
And I got tidbits from everybody. This was great. Thank you.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Same here. And my one is going to be walk, because I always send the kids out in the backyard to ride their bikes a few times between the day. But I should go out in the backyard to ride my figurative bike. So that's going to be. And let me read off that have come in, and then we're going to be closing at that point. Somebody said, oh, walk, move when I hit a brain block. So actually really similar. And somebody else said, I'm going to reflect on what I enjoy. I think this was Gigi's comment earlier, what I enjoy about working from home and what it will look like when things go back to normal. Nice. So how can I keep the things that are working for me? I just want to say a huge thank you to our coaches, to David, Sandy, Eileen, and Giselle. Thank you so much. And we're delighted you've been joining us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Enjoy your rest of your week.
Thank you.
Yeah,
tomorrow
likewise.
is Brian Brannigan on breathing and creating cohesion in this crazy world. So we look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Oh, yay, Brian.
It's going to be good. I got a preview. It's going to be good.
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah.
All right. Guys,
All the best, everyone.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Be well.